With my mother, continuing on with my story, when my mother left the Nation of Islam, she left it all together, completely all together. And watched TV. She started getting material things, uh, furniture, cars, and she worked with the city. She worked at the Detroit Zoo. She worked at the Belle Isle in the aquarium. She worked at various city jobs. Ended up being a food manager at the Detroit Public Schools. She retired from that position. And I was obedient child up until the age of me being a teenager. I say about 13, 14, I started hanging out with the fellas in the streets. But going back, after she quit the Nation, started back eating pork. My grandmother also left the Nation, but she couldn't eat pork because of a medical conditioning. And she had to start eating like the recommended one meal a day that the Nation prescribed. And that saved her life. She lived a long time up until the age of 101 years old before she made her transition. And my mother's sister was also a Muslim in St. Louis, in the temple in St. Louis. I don't know the number, St. Louis, Missouri. And she went back. The only one that didn't go back to the streets was my uncle. But it was hard for him, because he started losing faith, and around the time Wharf Dean took it over, he was ready to quit. So he ended up, he had the teachers in him, but he had one foot in the streets and one foot in the Nation. So my mother, after after my age of 7, I stayed loyal as a obedient child up until about 13. I started hanging in the streets more and adopting the ways of the other brothers who didn't have the teaching of the Nation of Islam. And eventually we moved over in the vicinity of Dexter, Wildermere. I lived on Wildermere, near Finkel, in between Finkel and Davidson, Dexter and Livernois, in that area there. And that area is where young boys around Dexter and close vicinity was where the Young Boys Incorporated developed the Black Mafia, some of the Black Mafia, uh, 18. The boys over there on that west side was rough. They took the crown of being gangsters from the east side, because the real gangsters used to be over there on Mac on the east side, around the north end. But the west side took it from them, and they wear the crown of being the most bloodthirsty thugs I know, because I knew a couple independent contractors that work for all the different various organizations. But had it not been for those early teachings of the Nation of Islam, I might not be here today talking to you. So we're gonna fill in about the Nation of Islam and my story in the next uh, video. So stay tuned. I'm going to tell you some stories that are frightening. Black light.